Okay, my friends, it is Monday, November 25th, 2024. It feels like the world is going mad. It really does. I have 11 big stories for today, and usually I try to limit them, but you need to know what's going on here. So there's panic in Romania today as pro-Russian candidate that no one ever's heard of with no visible means of funding wins the first round of presidential elections after only registering on October 1st. So Romanians and Romanian media are considering it a Russian attack, or at least they're speculating about that. Let's look a little bit deeper into this. In what might be a catastrophic news for Romania, for Ukraine, and for Europe in general. In the first round of the Romanian presidential election, an almost completely unknown individual somehow managed to win that first round and end up qualifying for round two. It was really bizarre because this guy came out of nowhere. As I'm writing this is probably every third Romanian just discovered. I'm Googling the guy that he's openly pro-Russian, openly and unapologetically pro-Iron Guard, that's Romanian World War II fascist movement, violently anti-NATO, anti-EU, and they're calling him a Russian asset. Now, I don't know that he is a Russian asset. I don't know that you can call him that yet. We don't know enough about him to be able to say that. And just because he came out of nowhere and that he's on this side, on this right-wing side of the spectrum, doesn't mean that he is. He could be, we just don't know. But I think there's something greater at play here. I think that there is a spirit of the age right now that has, like, there's a MAGA-like movement in the US, and there's a Brexit-like MAGA kind of movement in Britain. And I think there's these kind of movements in Europe as well. But it's not going to be good for Ukraine if Putin can splinter off one country, any one country, Romania or Hungary or whoever, in order to keep Ukraine out of NATO and out of the EU. And if that happens, that's going to be bad. Pro-Russian far-right extremist, his name is Gerdes, who has just surprisingly won the first round of the presidential election in Romania as anti-systemic candidate. And that's why I'm thinking he might just be part of the spirit of the age, what's going on here with like a MAGA-like movement. Here, he says this: we have to talk about peace. Peace imposes itself. How advanced are the peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine? I'm talking about our country. You're talking about other countries. That's none of our business. Now, it is actually some of your business, and if it spills over the border, it's going to be problematic. But okay, I have told you before, we should be observers. We don't have to get involved. It's none of our business. I think we should worry about the Romanian nation and only about the Romanian nation. So that seems to sound like the spirit of the age for a MAGA-like populist movement. And I think that could be happening simultaneously. Okay, so there's a few scenarios. He could be a Putin agent. He could be just simply sympathetic and aligned. It could be that he's totally elsewhere, but he happens to line up just because this is kind of populism in Romania. This is one of the most respected Romanian journalists saying on the evening of November 24th, 2024, the invasion of Romania by Russia began, talking about this guy winning these elections. Don't know. I will keep an eye on it. I've never heard of the guy, but hey, neither is half the Romanian population. Okay. Next big story. Thousands of people gathered outside the Georgian parliament in Tbilisi to protest ahead of the first session of the newly elected parliament scheduled for 25 November. Again, the Georgians believe that the elections were rigged. It seems like that may very well have been the case. And so the Georgians are very much not happy, and they're still protesting about this. We got to keep an eye on what's going on there as well. Germany was always too late in helping Ukraine. Well, that's because Germany was following the lead of the U.S., and the U.S. was always too late in helping Ukraine. Economics Minister Robert Habeck criticized Chancellor Scholz's hesitancy on arms deliveries, saying decisions came too late for those suffering in Ukraine. And he stressed the urgency of quickly supplying Taurus cruise missiles. Like, we have a short window before Trump comes to power where if the Ukrainians can really push on the Russians or cause them to want to come to the table, it's a different scenario than if they feel like they're winning. Next big story, Cyprus plans to join NATO. What, that would be the third country since Putin invaded Ukraine that has tried to join NATO. Finland and Sweden joined since the beginning of the war. During a meeting between Cyprus President and U.S. President Joe Biden in late October, a gradual rapprochement plan with the alliance was discussed. So they're actually talking about joining NATO, and Cyprus had not considered NATO membership before. They've been part of that non-alignment movement, and it looks like they're thinking, you know what, I need this protection. Okay, next big story. A Russian woman claimed on Russian TV that life in the part of Kursk region under Ukrainian armed forces control has been very difficult. However, past statements, and she was on TV interviewed by the Ukrainians earlier, past statements of hers later emerged where she expressed gratitude to Ukrainian soldiers for providing food and even assisting with her daughter's childbirth. Now, maybe they applied some pressure to her or something, but let's see what she had to say here as opposed to then. So here she's saying constant gunfire, had to drive for water. Well, in short, we're surviving. God forbid to be in this situation, especially the child small, no doctor. Now, this is what she had said in the past. This was when she's being interviewed with Ukrainians. Awesome. What did the lads bring you? They brought me diapers, medicines, washing powder, a bit of everything. Wow, wow. Well, how did the Ukrainian soldiers treat you at all? Tell me honestly, not because they're standing here. Very well. Definitely, very well. Our guys should hear this. We never had treatment like that. Russians did not come even once. No. Honestly saying, helped to give birth here and everything. Daughter could have died during labor. She would have if they didn't help. Our Ukrainian soldiers? Yes, they helped. Military doctor. My daughter started having contractions. Volunteers came. I asked them to take us to Sutsa to find military doctor. They brought a doctor. Water broke. They accepted us. Everything is fine. They brought food to us as soon as we arrived. Okay, so she's changing her tune when she's doing this interview for the Russians here, and maybe, she's coerced. I don't know, but it's just an odd thing. Okay, next big story. Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine revealed the losses ratio in the Kursk region. I talked about it this morning, a ratio of 1 Ukrainian loss for every 6 to 7 that the Russians have suffered in Kursk. Now, we're just talking about Kursk. Now, that seems pretty high. Now, how are they doing it? Ukrainian forces adopted guerrilla tactics in Russia's Kursk Oblast as Russian troop numbers grow. So they're outnumbered, so they can't take them on in a frontal assault, so they're doing it guerrilla style. This is what the Americans did to the British in the Revolutionary War. Kiev troops avoided direct combat engagements with the Russian soldiers due to the lack of fortification. So that's how they're doing what they're doing. Okay, you see this here in the Euromaidan press, a little bit about what was being said here. The enemy tries to engage our units in battle because they outnumber us by 3 to 10 times, just depending on where they are in Kursk. It's pointless to fight them directly in open fields or forest without fortifications when the enemy's strength is tenfold. Therefore, we avoid such engagements. It can be roughly compared to guerrilla warfare, said a military expert. If they deployed additional forces, increasing their advantage from tenfold to 20-fold, it would make holding the region untenable for Ukrainian forces. Two more things. If the war is frozen along the current lines, including Kursk Oblast, Putin will face accusations of conceding part of his territory to the U.S. Such a narrative would portray him as bowing to the American demands, which is unacceptable for him. Therefore, he's desperate to reclaim these areas. Yeah, Putin wants them pushed out. I think fighting in Kursk Oblast will intensify, and it's entirely possible that Russia will deploy substantial reinforcements there, raising troop numbers from 45,000, and I've seen upwards of 60,000 as a number, to 100 to 150,000. Now remember, that number of 100 to 150,000 is like what the original force was on the border of Ukraine. I think it was closer to 150,000 initially, and then escalated to like 180 or something along those lines. All right, meanwhile, Ukraine reportedly struck a military airfield in the Kursk Oblast with ATACMS missiles for the first time. Ukrainian forces used U.S. missiles to target this arsenal in Bryansk Oblast. Let's look at this in Euromaidan press. Ukraine struck military airfield in Kursk Oblast with ATACMS ballistic missiles. On the night of 25 November, Ukrainian missiles Forces launched a strike on the Russian Kursk East Tactical Aviation Airfield with American ATACMS ballistic missiles. And what happened exactly? Well, Russian military aviation bloggers confirmed that the ballistic missile attack actually happened. Notably, pro-Russian propagandists who run Fighter Bomber Channel reported the launch of 8 missiles. According to him, the airfield's air defense systems managed to intercept only 7 of the missiles. I mean, something got through, but but again, 7 out of 8. I mean, it's, you have to confirm these kinds of things because they lie about things so much. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but let's say 7 of the missiles, emphasizing that this term refers only to an attempt to land them down, not to interception of the missiles, whatever that exactly means. The Ukrainian government or military representatives haven't commented on this information. But as always, we'll likely find out in a day or two, yes, they hit this storage facility or this bunker or barracks or these planes or what have you. We'll find out in due time. Yesterday, it was interesting, a Russian passenger plane from Sochi caught fire in Turkey. It landed in Turkey, caught on fire. It's reported that the engine had already been extinguished, no information about casualties. So what happened? A Russian airplane with 95 people on board caught fire at the airport. Sukhoi Superjet 100 of the Russian Azmut airline flew from Sochi, and the engine caught fire after a hard landing at the airport. The airline said wind shear was the cause of the incident, according to Reuters. I don't know that that's what actually happened, but it did catch fire, and there's only so many jets and there's only so many parts because sanctions are making it really difficult to maintain these planes. On the other side of this equation, something really interesting happened in Lithuania, and this is the next. The German Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock, said that the deadly crash of a cargo plane in Lithuania on November 25th could have been a hybrid incident with outside involvement. Now, there's footage of a DHL cargo plane crashing in Vilnius. Vilnius is the capital city. It's kind of close to the Belarus border. The Lithuanian Civil Aviation Authority stated that the DHL pilots did not report any issues to air traffic controllers prior to the crash. Authorities are not ruling out the possibility of a T attack, but it also could have been a technical malfunction, could have been human error. We just don't know yet. Now, this was a DHL cargo plane. Now, you see this glow in the background. That's actually what happened. And it's suspicious because in July, there were 2 parcels that exploded at a DHL warehouse, and this was a DHL cargo plane, and both of the packages in July were sent to Lithuania, so there might be some connection. There might not be. It could be pure coincidence, but I'm not holding my breath. Now, the UK is also warning of Russia's aggressive cyber warfare threat to NATO. No one should underestimate the Russian cyber threat to NATO, according to Pat McFadden, the UK Cabinet Office Minister. He emphasized Russia's exceptionally aggressive and reckless in cyber. Yep, in cyber, in hybrid attacks, in saber rattling, and all kinds of things. Russia's just really amped it up lately. Russia is also enabling Houthi-backed individuals, this is another big story, to shoot at the U.S. Navy warships in the Red Sea. So if Russia sees the U.S. as a proxy war by supplying Ukraine, they are in a proxy war against the U.S. through the Houthis in the Red Sea. This is posted by Senator Roger Wicker. He's the senior Republican senator from Mississippi. He's saying it's more evidence that our adversaries are an axis of aggression, conspiring and working together. They really are. It's all connected. And then Garry Kasparov said to that, what I call the axis of autocracy as far back as 2010, with Putin as a spider in the center of the web, sponsoring tea and sabotage across the free world, united to destroy Ukraine, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, North Korea, with China's implausible deniability of support. Yep, I mean, this is the group. Okay, Douglas Macgregor, he's the guy that keeps saying Ukraine's doomed, Russia's going to crush it next week, and he said that for 1,000 days. He says if America joins Israel in its war against Iran, the outcome will be a geopolitical showdown that could dramatically alter the world. It's a storm of the 21st century, and for the moment, the American ship of state is sailing right into it. I keep telling you, it's all connected. Even Joe Rogan is talking about this. And I just did a video about what Joe Rogan was saying and what Klitschko said in reply. And if you're not familiar with what's going on there, you can check out this video. Nikki Haley says the worst thing we can do is walk back from our friends right now. America needs to stand with Israel, Taiwan, Ukraine. That's right. There is an axis of evil, and there are victims of the axis of evil. Okay, two more thoughts and we'll be done, my friends. From 1799 to 1867, Russia owned Alaska. If they want it back, we should give it to them. No sense sparking World War III. Like, this is the kind of foolishness that we're talking about. Now, finally, in relation to the DHL cargo plane in Lithuania, Darth Putin says your leaders may call this a hybrid attack. That's because if they called it an attack, they'd be expected to do something about it. That's right. That's where we are. The world's gone mad. All right, tell me what you thought about this in the comments below. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.